So today I want to go over a very simple way that you can assess your breathing mechanics, and we can use this as a test, and then we can also be able to use this as an exercise to help kind of improve how your breathing is going. What you're going to need is you're going to need a towel and just something that you can roll up, and this is going to give us a reference for our lower back as we start to kind of go into this assessment / test. The first thing we want to do is we want to kind of create an awareness of where your lower back arches and flexes, or extends and then flexes, because we want to set up an optimal position to truly see what your breathing is doing. So if your rib cage is off, or if your pelvis is off, if you're not in a good posture position, it can create more compensatory patterns. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into a quadruped position where our hands kind of stacked under our shoulders, our knees are stacked under our hips, and you can relax the toes if you'd like. And you want to think about each vertebrae of your spine. We're going to slowly round, tucking our rib cage and flexing as much as we can. Now, as we're doing this, you want to kind of feel where your in range is. What I just did is I push back. So what can happen is you can push back as you round. So you want to try and be hovering over. And then slowly, segment by segment, you're going to arch and start to bring your body up and feel your in range in this extension. And a lot of you may know this as cat-camel. And what we're using this is just a quick assessment to see kind of our in ranges in flexion and kind of our in ranges in extension to see where our lordotic curve is. So what we're trying to assess is where we feel this. Reason why is when we lay on the ground in a second, we want a little bit of a curve, and so we're trying to create an endpoint. So once you've done, we'll go back to this, a couple cat-camels, go slow and controlled, looking for your in ranges. It's like, okay, there's my full kind of in range here. Full in range here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on the ground, and then we're going to get into the assessment portion of this. You're going to take the towel. This is going to go at your lower back. Okay, you're going to bend the knees. And what you'll see is, before I get into this, I have my shoes off and I'm, kind of barefoot. The reason why I like taking shoes off and stuff like that is it gives you a reference of the ground. And we'll kind of ground ourselves to kind of really see what's happening. So if our feet don't have a reference, that can also cause some changes in the breathing. So socks are fine as well, but just trying, flat surface in a sense with your feet, because you want to kind of feel the ground. What you're going to do is you're going to bend your knees. You're going to put this towel at your lower back, and this is where we talked about that curve. So think of what you did with the quadruped, where you fully extended and then you rounded. Do that a couple times to feel that towel. And then you want to kind of get in the middle where your lower back is just kind of hovering. So I can show you real quickly. It's like my lower back is just going to hover and curve over this. So we don't want it to smash down, because in this position it'd be this where it would smash. But we want a little bit of a curve in our lower back, because remember, your spine is a whole curved position. It's like a spring. So we never want our lower back to be flat. We want a little bit of a curve here. And this is why the towel comes into play. You can use something else, but what you want to do is you want to lay your lower back over this towel and have it kind of hover, so it creates this curve before we go into that kind of thoracic curve. Gives us a semi-neutral, in a sense, spine position, because we want to see what our true breathing is from that position. Now what we're going to do is I got this kind of at my lower back. Mess around with it too, okay? What you're going to do from this position now is you're going to take your one hand, I like the bottom hand, kind of belly region, kind of stomach. The other hand is going to be more on the sternum of the chest. You're going to tuck your chin a little bit. Feel your feet grounded, so you want to feel your heels, you want to kind of feel the toes, and then just stay there and take a few breaths. So this is where we're going to start to assess our breathing. Okay, so we're going to breathe in, and then we're going to exhale. If you can, exhale through the mouth. Just nice and easy breathing. Remember, we're not trying to beat this test, so I don't want you to try and breathe in excessively or exhale excessively. Just see what's happening. Okay? Feel your hands. You want to feel how they rise. See if your stomach is rising with your hand, and right at the thoracic cage or the chest, is there movement happening there? As you inhale, and then as you exhale. And you can do anywhere, 5 to 10 breaths. You can relax and repeat. And what we're trying to see is which hands are rising or which hands aren't. So maybe if I have belly breathing, only this hand or stomach's going to rise. Or maybe I just have chest breathing, where this just rises and we kind of go into this position. Ideally, we want to flow. Like pistons up and down of a car, we kind of want to flow. So as we breathe in air, from the side of you, as I bring air in, it's going to go down into the lungs, expanding the lungs, putting pressure in the abdominal region, the pelvic floor. And as that starts to accumulate, it comes back up and pushes out and to the sides. Now, depending if I'm an excessive compensatory breather, I do a lot of chest and I'll automatically pull my rib cage up before the air can fully get down and expand the rib cage as a unit. Because we don't want to do this. We want the air to go down, expand, everything kind of as a unit, kind of this 365-degree expansion. Sometimes your chest will expand or the stomach will expand, or even when you exhale, it will expand in the opposite direction. But what this is doing is it's showing us what's happening when we're kind of laying down. You take gravity out of it. I'm going back to it. So I put this at my lower back, ground my feet, kind of feel position, and then hands there. And then start to see where the air goes. Up and down. And the chest is obviously not going to rise as much as the stomach does. And another thing you can do to test again is close your eyes and feel what your hands do. We're taking the visual component out of it, so then we can really focus on how we feel when we're doing this and where we're feeling the air go. Nice and easy, and then exhale. Now, that's an assessment in a sense to see how your respiratory breathing is. Remember, we want like pistons. Once again, it's not going to be one unit rising together. There's going to be a little bit of flow. There's going to be a little bit of a dance, depending on if you're inhaling or exhaling. Someone's always going to be a little bit of head, which is fine. But what we don't want is when we breathe, just the belly to come out and the chest doesn't. We want everything to expand, because our ribs expand out and turn up if we're getting effective breathing quality here. Now, we said that's an assessment and it's also an exercise. So if you're like, say you were stressed out and it's a lot of chest breathing, or you've been coughing a lot, or just hasn't been a good day breathing wise, use this also as an exercise. So every test can be considered an exercise depending on how you program it. So what we do, once again, going back to it, I did a couple camels to kind of feel my in ranges. Remember, because curves in your spine are good as long as they're in the right position. And then I put it back down here, and let's say I find my curve. Remember, I'm hovering over the towel. I'm not smashing it down. Tucking my chin here, okay, because I don't want it there. Kind of tuck it back. I'm going to tilt my rib cage down just a little bit, so I don't want to smash it down. I'm just going to, a little subtle tuck, close my eyes, and I'm just going to hang out here and breathe. But the key when you're doing this is for an exercise is when you breathe in, try and get all the air down to your pelvis, your pelvic floor, that bowl. The air should go here and push and get all the pressure to go down there. Because the pressure goes down to that pelvic floor, it's going to push it back up and push everything out as a unit versus pulling my rib cage up too soon. That's what happens sometimes as we breathe in and our rib cage goes too soon, and the air and pressure, the pressure doesn't get down there, so we don't fill up the lungs like we optimally can. So close your eyes, because you want to feel this happen. You want to think about consciously, just hang out here and think about the air breathing in through your nose, having it go into your lungs and all the way down to your pelvic floor, feeling that expansion, having that kind of and then exhale through your mouth, tucking your rib cage down a little bit, and then breathing in again, trying to get the hands to expand up as a unit. And then exhale. And then just hang out here and just breathe. Just nice and easy. You could start thinking about other things, about life and all the cool things in your life that's going on, because you're going to breathe no matter what. But if we create a safe space to do it and a comfortability, it's going to help kind of revert back to what its quality of doing is getting that quality air in, and really think about air all the way down to your pelvis. When you exhale, tuck the rib cage down and let the hands help guide you of how well it's going. And just hanging out here for a minute, you can do 5-10 breaths, can be very powerful in a sense. Anytime you're stressed, I always talk about take a couple big deep breaths. There's a reason why. Breathing helps reset a lot of things. So this quick assessment of laying on the ground and seeing where your stomach and chest is going can kind of tell you if your system's kind of dialed up a little bit. And what I mean by that is if your chest goes, or you feel the neck or this stuff, you're not getting the air and the pressure down to that pelvic floor to help create this, multi-system expansion. And what we want to trying to accomplish is get back to that. So laying there and figuring that out, then you just start there and work on breathing, trying to get the air all the way down. And obviously it's not going to go down to your pelvis, but when we talk about get the air down, we're talking about getting the pressure down, because as the lungs expand, they're going to push pressure down. That's going to allow this expansion. And then you just exhale and relax. What I like to do, and what we always recommend, is close your eyes. When you close off vision, it helps you kind of re-feel how your body is kind of interpreting this respiration and the breathing. Because with visual, we can get distracted, but we're still breathing, right? You breathe anywhere from 16,000 to 24,000 breaths a day, and you don't remember those in a sense of, from like an exercise standpoint. So shutting off the eyes will help kind of in tune you back to where your breathing mechanics are, and this could help improve multiple things. So use that assessment tool at home, just working on breathing, and then use it as an exercise if you need to kind of dial down the system, you're a little stressed, or you can't sleep, or you've been sick. Just use that to help you kind of get back and reboot and charge back up for the next day, because it can be very beneficial.